Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. Can you say President Kamala Harris? Well, you might say it one day if Joe Biden wins the presidency in November. The interesting thing is that we had a case in American history where we had an ailing president running for re-election and he won, and that was Franklin D. Roosevelt. And the difference is that the American public wasn't aware of the physical condition of the president of the United States. We have a man that was vice president, who's been in politics for 50 years, and is running for president. And I am not a doctor, a psychologist, a therapist. I'm just an average viewer of media. And I have to say, in all honesty, in my humble opinion, we have someone that is very much challenged on the mental frontier. And he has chosen Kamala Harris to be his running mate. I'm Peter Lavelle, this is Lionel, and we have George Szamuely. All right, Lionel, let me go to you. I mean, there's a real possibility, and I'm not trying to scaremonger here, but the Democrats and the political elites tried to use the 25th Amendment against Donald Trump. They might actually use it under Joe Biden, and maybe relatively quickly, if he's inaugurated in January of 2001. Go ahead.
But the difference is that the Democrats were going to use it to remove Trump. The Democrats are going to now use it to remove their candidate, which is the 1-2. I seriously doubt whether anybody knew at any particular point that Joe Biden was this advanced in whatever this senescence is, this dotage that he seems to be hobbling under. The idea, again, take whatever you knew about conventional politics, throw it away. You have right now a Kamala Harris or a Kamala Harris or a Kamala Harris, or as some people call it, Carmela, whatever it is. You have a woman who is being there, Chauncey Gardner, whatever, Zelig, the empty vessel. This is a woman who, by the way, so brilliantly uses the following. When you ask a question, I want to talk about plastic straws, meat triangles, diets, whatever it is. He goes, I'm glad you asked that. I want to have a conversation about it. I want to have a conversation about this. Now, if you went to a doctor and said, listen, I got a problem. This arm is paralyzed. And your neurologist said, I'd like to have a conversation. Excuse me. I want treatment. Now, this is a woman who basically told her running mate, you are a racist. Later on, she said, I believe the woman who claimed you had sexually abused her, so you're a rapist. A racist and a rapist. Now, I don't know what other, a ravist is the third, but how do you get around this? Now, gentlemen, in a perfect world, this would be her doom. But today it doesn't matter because the United States has the attention span of a gnat. We don't care. We're being bombarded with masks, COVID, social distancing, contact tracing. Who remembers? A week seems like a year, but on paper, it is beyond comical in terms of, or comical, for her to even be there in the first place.
Okay, George, I think we can take a step back and be and be reasonable here. I'm willing to say that's the tough and tumble of primaries. Okay, you say that kind of thing about your opponents. I can say okay, that's fair game here. But the point is that she dropped out of the primary because nobody liked her except for the media. Okay, she dropped out before Iowa, before that fiasco, and she was still on the ballot in California. And if I'm not mistaken, she came in fourth place. I think that was fourth place. So I mean, so she's being anointed. She's going to be put on the pedestal, and if this happens, if there's a Biden presidency, she is quite literally, maybe not a heartbeat away, but a few synapses away from the presidency. I mean, how did we get here? Someone that is completely unattractive to the electorate is going to be sitting next to Joe saying, Joe, we're here. Okay? I mean, that's a quite amazing thing to happen. I mean, people talk about how this obscure senator from Missouri became president. Well, he wasn't that obscure. People knew who he was, and he was elected. And we know, because of history, he was elected in his own right. So he had a modicum of popularity. This is something that we've never seen before. And people know this. It's not like, the mental decline is going to be sudden. We see it before our eyes here. So I find that quite breathtaking, to be honest with you.
Yes. her candidacy was always a complete fraud. She had no ideas, she had no issues, she had nothing whatever to offer except her identity. Her identity was that she was kind of posing as an African American woman. She was going to be the new Obama, kind of good looking, charming, and ticks all the right boxes for identity politics. But when it came to any issues, she really had no ideas about anything. I mean, and when Lionel talked about the conversation, her favorite was, somebody would ask, well, do you think felons should be given the vote? Well, maybe they should. You think we should have, universal health care? Well, maybe we should. Medicare for all? Yeah, maybe. She had no ideas about any of those because it just never occurred to her. I thought she just thought she would waltz in, much as Barack Obama waltzed in with no real abilities whatever, other than that he was black and he wasn't Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton, and that was it.
Well, in all fairness, and everyone knows how I feel about the empty suit name Barack Obama, okay? But, I mean, he was charismatic in a political sense. I give him that, okay?
One of the things... I think that came out later. I don't think that was at all obvious.
Well, he was running against George W. Bush, though. I mean, a milk carton would be, charismatic next to George W. Bush in the last days of his administration. Let's be honest about that. But Lionel, George brings up so many good points because what is the policy? I mean, I guess we get too deep into the weeds. We think about politics and how it's going to affect people's lives, not about how someone's going to look on Inauguration Day. Okay,
precisely.
So, because it's all a beauty contest. Go ahead.
We are applying a level of kind of intellectual finesse that is shared by virtually no one. So what we're doing is we're three people talking about something that nobody else cares about. I mean, it's like we own restaurants evaluating a menu, but we know so much. I'm not trying to be that. We're good and everything, but I'm sorry to say this. I have no faith in the American electorate. None. People vote for things and for. Listen, I think the world in many respects of what President Trump has done. He came out sometimes and he came out with this and the flag and we're going to this and I'm going to. He does it the same thing. You strike a theme. But what people are going to be forgetting is that right now, as we speak, and I'm here in New York, there are people walking around, and we can drive to parts of New York and New Jersey where people embrace this Black Lives Matter. I can show you houses, Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ, and it's like, I'm wearing my virtue signaling, I'm this, and it's time for this, and George Floyd infectors, I'm going to wear a mask. And there is this, I'm standing for something. It's scared, timorous, infection phobic, misophobic. I don't even know what we are. And we are so bamboozled that, believe me, we're responding to sometimes, some voters, viscerally to something. The level of hatred that they can't even explain towards Trump is the policy. It's not that that Kamala Harris stands for anything. Is that I'm not Trump, and I'm not Trump better than he's not Trump. Well, and that may sound silly, but that's exactly what.
But you're absolutely right. I hate Trump, but I don't have a policy reason why I hate Trump. Right. That's what I find really irritating. Believe me, I mean, and Lionel and George, you've been on Crosstalk so many times. I mean, I express my frustration with the president all of the time, okay? But I'm a policy wonk. It's his policies that I get angry with. I don't care about the tweets, and I don't care about his glib language. And I actually find it, a lot of it, kind of humorous because he makes he belittles the mainstream media that deserves to be belittled because they're a bunch of low octane thinkers that are in people's pockets. Okay, I want to wrap this up here, George. We're in an election cycle where there's no people are not voting for a positive. It's basically, either people are standing their ground or they're voting to get rid of someone. Because I have said from the very beginning, this has nothing to do about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is an avatar. Who cares what he says, okay? If he can say something, who cares what he says? He's an avatar. This is an avatar election, okay? And I think that that serves the electorate so poorly, okay? Because in January of 2021, we may have no idea what we've got. Go ahead, George.
Yes. I think Kamala Harris is very much a typical Democrat of today. I think she's besotted with authoritarianism. I mean, the authoritarianism that we've seen earlier this year, with all the governors locking everything down, with all the threats against social media, that's who Kamala Harris is. And we're going to have any number of restrictions on social media under a Harris presidency. And remember, one of her themes when she was running was that Trump should be taken off Twitter. Remember, every single debate she'd come up, oh, I think Trump should be taken off Twitter.
Policy thinking.
That's her natural way of thinking. I don't like something, let's shut it down. That's what she was like as an attorney general, and that's the way she thinks. So I think that's what as a presidency, domestically, it'll be, if you like the lockdowns, you're going to have a lot more of that under her. And I think in foreign policy, it'll be standard issue, Democratic Party, humanitarian interventionism, and yet more catastrophic interventions ahead. She'll renew the war in Syria and probably pick on somebody else, Orban in Hungary, maybe, Belarus or whoever.
It's very interesting. I did a quick review yesterday of her stance on foreign policies, and there were a couple points that I actually agreed with her, but she only took that position because it was against Trump. She has no principled positions whatsoever. Definition of an establishment Democrat. All right, Lionel, George, thank you very much for joining the gaggle. Everyone, please like, share, and subscribe, and you're going to see all three of us real soon.